What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, coming at you today with another episode of Does It Suck? The show where we take a deep dive look at a new game and see what's good or bad about it. This time around, we're going to be checking into a series that's a little bit more obscure, a little bit more underground, but I think definitely deserves some major attention, which is The Surge. The original game in this franchise came out just a few years ago, but it was certainly something I was very happy to review. It's basically just on paper a robot version of Dark Souls. It takes place in the distant future where everybody is getting cybernetic upgrades. Robot arms, robot legs, all sorts of cool reinforcement chassis that can make you literally a walking tank. Now, the reason this is so cool to me is because it sort of created an interesting storyline element for why you're going around and having such interesting, slow, methodical combat. But more than this, the best part about The Surge was that it was just so fun to have every single intense fight. There was a problem though. In the first Surge game, it predominantly took place in a single warehouse. It had some different ecosystems and some different twists and turns, but it was overall a very tiny experience. For this sequel that I've been playing today, The Surge 2 is looking to explode that concept. This time we have an entire city at our disposal, filled with side quests, characters that are just standing there and just want to help you out, and all new styles of faction that are going to be so fun to fight against. So let's start off by talking about what specifically this beta demo is. I just want to be clear, this is definitely an early version of the game. I encountered some glitches, there are some problems, but I want to talk about those in a bit. I want to get to the good before I get to the bad. Now, just to be clear, I think that there is a lot of changes in this that make it a lot more fun to just play, to just get into those little nitty-gritty intricacies of how you swing your blade and how you manage to chop off somebody's limbs and get upgrades. There's definitely been a huge barrage of tiny tweaks that make this a lot more fun than the original. If you never played the first Surge, I'd actually say you should wait to play the second Surge. Now this time around, we're going to be trying to explore this huge metropolis, obviously, after busting out of a prison, where somebody who just woke up and the apocalypse is basically unfurling. In this cybernetic future, everybody has huge mechanical limbs. It seems like it's just dirt cheap to get these super cool mechanical upgrades to your physical body. Well, that's great, except for one problem, which is that somehow there's a computer virus that managed to be unleashed, and since everybody's a robot in the future, that means that they all became literal killing machines. They're wandering the streets trying to kill anybody on sight. There are a couple people that are out there that are sane, but most of them are still a little bit kooky in their own way. Some people even seem to be worshipping this apocalypse and acting like this is the best thing ever, like maybe cybernetic Jesus is coming back. But let's talk about the fights. Okay, so this is the best part about this game, is just how you actually chop people up. Just looking at all this gameplay here, I'm sure you've noticed the fact that this is very certainly walking in the footsteps of Dark Souls. You lock on targets and try and pace around them, waiting for a perfect chance to parry or dodge, and then once an enemy has an opening, you're able to just jump in there and chop, chop, chop. The major difference though is that there is actually separate ways to kill enemies. By reducing their health down to 0, no matter what, of course they're going to fall over dead. But additionally, there's actually a different system, which is where when you're targeting somebody, you can aim at specific body parts. And you'll notice that if you're observant, there's actually certain parts of people's bodies that'll be more or less armored. Like if you see somebody who's actually got robot arms and robot legs, but no helmet, stabbing them in the face will actually kill them faster. It'll reduce their health dramatically quicker and put them down fast. There is an advantage though of targeting armored pieces of body. So basically the additional part of this that you need to keep in mind is the withdrawal system, which is what I call it. So basically, if I'm targeting somebody who has like a huge sword connected to their right arm, if I target their right arm and smash against it again and again, it will actually weaken that specific body part until I can chop it off in this giant, gory, dramatic finishing move. This can unlock the weapon or maybe just a schematic. So if I see somebody who has an armored leg piece that I think is super beneficial, I can repeatedly target that and kill him again and again, or units like this guy, until eventually I get that leg upgrade and install it on my own body. It's a system that basically makes it where just trying to level up and grinding is extra fun, because as you're going around and killing people, you get this stuff called tech scrap, and tech scrap is basically how you level yourself up. You spend it at the upgrade station to give yourself more points for giving yourself more health, more stamina, or more battery energy. Now, all of this is very smartly done. I think that in general, the combat works better. It works better in 1,000 tiny ways that I think definitely add together to a more positive experience. But with that being said, it definitely seems like the Surge 2 is dramatically easier than the Surge 1. It's a little bit difficult to just try and determine if this is because the controls have been sharpened or if the enemies have less health. Now, just for full honesty, I did beat the original Surge, and the first game did get very hard at the end. So maybe it's just that I already have that practice, so trying to go over into this game, it makes it seem like it's easy, when in actuality, this difficulty is pretty standard. It does to me though seem like they just definitely have given the enemies less health overall. I'm not sure that's a bad thing though. Some of the foes in the first game could be so freaking annoying at times when you're just hacking and hacking. Enemies in this game also don't care about fighting fair. If you're out in an open area, you could have somebody that's throwing Molotov cocktails while somebody's trying to chop your face, and a separate guy is sneaking up behind you with a hammer. So you need to try and fight just as carefully as they are. You need to be just offensive and defensive at once. Don't be afraid to run away, to try and get yourself cornered, that way nobody can sneak up behind you again, or use your drone, which actually has bullets, to shoot people in the head and stun them. There's a huge bunch of options for how you want to fight in the Surge 2 that feel much more refined over the first. Now, I do want to take a break here to acknowledge the fact that there is some major glitches in this version of the game I played. Now, they sent me this, it's obviously not coming out for a couple months. The biggest problem I have in this game is that it was really weird about what is and is not allowed. Sometimes if I was fighting an enemy, if I died too close to the time when they died, it would actually freeze the screen, and I couldn't figure out why. Like right here, if you kill somebody and it levels you up and you die at once, it just leaves you as a full health dead body. That's a pretty weird glitch. I've also had times where if I had to kill somebody, like sometimes you'll be like trying to fight a boss and you go into a room and it locks you in that room with the boss. That's pretty standard. That's very normal. But what sometimes happened is that if I died against that boss, the room would stay locked, and so then I couldn't get back into it until I completely closed out the game and went back in. These are small things. I also had a weird glitch where the screen would absolutely go insane like this. There's issues in this. They're not huge, they're not crazy, but there's definitely things that I'm very happy that this is not the release version of the game. It certainly needs a couple more months of works and patching and bug testing. While playing through this demo though, the two aspects of the game that certainly won me over the most that I didn't think I'd care about is this time around we get to craft a custom character. We can make him look however we want, we can change his face, his hair, his eyes. This is something that you couldn't do in the first game, and I didn't think I'd care about, but it's actually super cool to have me in the game, to have an actual representation of myself in the suit of armor. It definitely makes it where, even though I don't have a voice this time around, I don't get to have great acting lines or anything, it's nice to actually have me in the story instead of just some random dude who works at a factory. The other part of this game that is a huge thing that makes it a must-buy is that they are having double the weapon types. You have flamethrowers, dual blades, all sorts of different huge heavy hammers. It seems like the Surge 2 is definitely taking that 2 in the name ultra serious. It seems like they're trying to put in double the content, and to me that is a huge victory. Now I'm just going to say this again, I know I said it earlier in the video, if you have not played Surge 1, go and pre-order Surge 2. This looks like something that's going to be way different, way better, and way improved. This is probably going to be one of those interesting gems that's talked about for a bit. I'm a little bit nervous about how long the game is, just because this first 3 hours that I blew through was super fun, but I already kind of understand where the story might be going. I'm a little bit nervous that this might be one of those games that you can finish in like 6 or 7 hours. I'm still very optimistic though, and I just want to make sure that it's as long as possible so it's for the best bang for your buck. But how about you? What do you think about The Surge 2? Have you enjoyed seeing gameplay of it? And are you actually going to pre-order it? Let me know your thoughts and tell me in the comments down below what's good and what's bad about what you saw. Thanks so much for watching, gamers. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. There's like birds banging right outside my window, so I apologize if you hear this noise. I don't know how to get rid of it. I apologize. Love you guys. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.